You liked that, right? That was
I was just looking. I was like, is it hair all over my face?
I know. We'll get a roll picture later. But for those of you who are listening to this, our intro always has a picture behind it for the live stream that we do by video. And I changed the picture today so that it is a picture of Anastassia and I and in my Mini Cooper convertible. And it's for a photo shoot we did last week. So I thought it'd be a fun thing to put up there today. So yes, you should come over and tune into our video. It'll be fun. This is Ann Brennan, and this is
Anastassia Van Greshby.
And we are the marketing moms, and our job here is to make marketing easy for you, because it's not your job to do marketing. You have a business that you're an accountant, or you're an attorney, or you own a restaurant, or you own a cupcake shop. Marketing isn't your thing. It doesn't have to be, and that's okay, because guess what? Being an accountant isn't mine. So we're here to help you make that easy. That's our goal, is to help you make marketing easy. So I want to remind you to please subscribe, because that helps us a lot. Subscribe wherever you're listening to your podcast, but also subscribe on YouTube. I also want to remind you that because we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can ask questions. So please do ask questions. We love to hear them. The way you ask those questions is to leave a comment or reply to this video wherever you're seeing it, and we will see that. It'll come up on the not the left-hand side, doesn't matter to you, but it'll come up on my right-hand side. I'll see it, Anastassia can see it, and we can answer it. So that's what we're doing. We are Ann and Anastassia, and because of that, we are always flying by the seat of our pants and changing things up. And so today we've got something new for you. Anastassia, why don't you talk about why we've added this new segment, the actionable item segment?
Actionable items. Well, I really think one of the things that we want to do whenever we meet with anybody, that is, if we're not working with them, if we're consulting or whatever, is make sure that they have something that they can walk away with, something that you can do today that's going to make a difference. So we decided to do an actionable item in every episode so that you can hear it and say, okay, this is my homework. It's not going to be something huge, but it'll be something that's a start. And if you haven't already done it, it's something that's going to make a difference for your business.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, every small step you take in your marketing can make a big difference. And the one I'm going to share today is actually one that was shared with me by Brian Lobig. It's something I had done, but I hadn't put a whole lot of thought in, which is to go in and fill out every single profile you have online. So if you are a member of the Chamber of Commerce, go in and complete that profile. Put in your picture, put in your business name, put in your description of your business, add your website, add your social media. Every time you do this, whether it's your chamber or your BNI chapter or your local gym, if they have that, or your church, every time you do that, you're making a little bit of a mark on the internet, and you're guiding people back to you so that they can find you. And it's so important. Anastassia, you don't know this, but yesterday I was working on one of our clients, and what I was trying to do was connect them, because we created their Facebook page. They don't have a Facebook page. And I was trying to connect them as admins on their page, because if you have a website, you should. And they both did have social media, in particular Facebook, but they hadn't touched it since they set it up 10 years ago. So it is important, if you want people to find you online, you have to think strategically about these little things. They're very small things, but you have to think strategically about how you do that. So
definitely.
Yeah.
And SEO, like the thing about filling all the information out is that when somebody's searching for something, they'll find you. Like having your name as part of the Chamber of Commerce without actually having a description of the services that you provide. Somebody is searching, for instance, us, if they're searching marketing, social media marketing, it'll say that in our name, but by having more of a description, it's those keywords that it might find. So it's very important.
Yeah. And a lot of times people will say, oh my gosh, I don't rank very high on on SEO. My business doesn't rank very high. But if you've got different places where your business is, maybe the chamber ranks higher than you, and that's okay, because they still find you that way, right? Mm-hmm. You just need to make sure you are all the places somebody could possibly find you. That's really, really important. So, all right. So today we're going to talk about marketing. We said we'd talk about marketing, and people who were listening last week probably thought, well, what's there to say? I put my stuff up, I walk away, and life is good, right? So today we're going to talk about the 7 P's of marketing, and how it's so much more than just promotion. Promotion is part of it, but it's so much more than that. So, Anastasia, I'm going to give a lot of this to you because you're really good at this with our clients. When we're sitting down with our clients, you're thinking through those things that they don't want to think through. You're thinking through all of them. So let's start with product and why product is important.
So product's important. If you remember last week, we are talking about pain points, like what are the pain points of your customers? So your product, what you choose, needs to be fulfilling something. It needs to be helping somebody out. For us, it's social media. We're giving time to businesses that don't have time to do their social media. That's our product. So, whether you're a hairdresser, your product is, getting people's hair looking good, or, it could be a physical product like your phone or a case or something like that. So depending on what you're selling, you need to put thought into that and what pain points you're hitting for your customers.
Absolutely. And it just occurred to me, I've been doing this for a long time. And we've been doing the mental health end of this for a long time, right? We have burgers and bands for suicide prevention. And it just now occurred to me, I bet the people who made fidget spinners made them as a toy first. And then through their marketing, through their research, started thinking about, well, who does this toy appeal to and why? Well, and suddenly then it's not a toy, it's a mental health aid for your children. So then it appeals to the kids because they're like, I want this thing that spins around and lights up half the time and does all these cool things. And it appeals to the parent because they're like, well, I know my kid fidgets. I know my kid has a hard time sitting still. Let me buy that product. So in your process of creating your product or your service, if you're really brainstorming, if you're really thinking through it, then you've got this ability to change what you're doing and to find new ways of marketing it.
Yeah, don't be afraid to pivot. If you see that something is appealing to a different customer than you thought, it's okay. Just make sure that you pivot your marketing to do so.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about price and how in the world is price part of marketing?
Price is important. You gave a great example earlier when we were talking about an app that is one of our clients, and they were trying to decide whether it was going to be a free app or a paid app. And by having it as a paid app, you're more likely to trust it. This is an app that has encryption and where you can put your whole life into it. So are you going to trust something that's free in that situation? Also, if you are a service that is too cheap, then people are like, where are you cutting corners? If you're too expensive, then why are you that high? We always get a few estimates whenever we get work done on the house. And I will say there have been people that have come back way below the others, and we take them off straight away because it's like, why are you that cheap? Are you going to come back to me later for more money? Or are you just not as qualified? Sometimes it's not the case, but price is very, very important. I have a guy that does the tile in my house, and I'm always like, you need to raise your prices. You are worth more. So it's not just about, having what your customer wants to pay. It's what you value yourself at too.
Absolutely.
What are you bringing to the table? Your experience, your knowledge, your expertise. So these are things that you need to keep in mind when you're pricing, whether it's a product or a service. But also you have to be careful. You can't go too high. You can't go too low. But the great thing is you can always adjust. You kind of see where things are going, how things are going, and then you adjust. If you're too cheap and you get too busy, then you're like, okay, I need to put my prices up.
Right. We've done that. Actually, that's our whole pricing model, really, is how we have done our pricing. Is once we realize, oh my gosh, everybody's buying from us, we realize, oh, we can't sustain that. we
Yeah.
have to bring our prices up, and that'll slow it down a little bit. But it's also that we're worth more. Clearly, we're worth more if we're getting people coming on as quickly as they were, right?
I think everybody probably makes a mistake at some point in terms of their pricing. But there's also something else called value-based pricing. It's what value are you bringing to that customer? The product or service itself might not be worth very much in terms of time or investment for you as the seller, but what value is your customer getting out of it? It is,
Yeah.
I mean, like a website, for instance. Websites are huge. They're extremely valuable. They're extremely valuable because if you have a great website, then people who are looking, because everybody's going to look you up before they start working with you. If you have a bad
Absolutely.
website, they're not going to work with you. If you have a
No.
great website, and you can draw people in, then you will. So that's a great example of value-based pricing. You could do them for cheaper, but what's the value that the customer is getting out of it?
Absolutely. And I think we made that same mistake in the beginning. So email marketing is not that hard. It's relatively easy for us to do. But it's really valuable to the customer, because we've had clients who've called us and said that one email you sent me made me $15,000. One email, we send one every month, but the one made me $15,000. Well, if I'm charging $100 for that newsletter, is that really that valuable? Right?
Mhm.
I need to make it clear that it is valuable. So we charge more than that for that, right?
Mhm.
So I think it is something that you have to think about. How valuable is it on the other end? So I want to talk about promotion because that's what we do, right? But for us, people are always surprised that when they come to us, I may turn them down for social media. And part of that is that I believe that promotion it's everything. And it is everything. So I'll give you a really good example. We were working with a company called Breathe Easy, lovely, lovely couple. And they came to us and they said, we want to do social media with you. And I said, well, I'm not going to do social media with you but I said, you came to my house, you did my carpets, but you came in an unmarked van. So I'm not going to do social media with you until you do two things. You have to make sure that your van is wrapped. You have to. And so we put them in touch with Baltimore Graphics and had them do their van for them. That was the first step. But it makes a huge difference. They're driving around in a marked van that's beautiful. It makes a difference. And then the second thing I said is network. Somehow you need to network, whether that's joining a BNI or a chamber or something. Until you do, as a small business, if you're not networking, you should not spend your money anywhere else in the beginning. Go there first. Do the networking.
And they had just started, so it was very important to. I mean, you're right. We don't take everybody, because we'll say, okay, you want to start social media marketing, but your website is terrible. So rather than spending money with us, you need to go and get on social media, either have us build your website or have somebody else build your website, but you need a new website. That's an important step. So
Absolutely.
there's definitely, I mean, we're too honest.
Yeah. No, but I don't think we are, because I think it's so unfair for people. It makes me crazy when people will take somebody's money and say, oh, we're going to help you build your business off of social media. Social media is a step.
Mm-hmm.
But if you skip the steps before that, then you're messing up. And it's not the end step either. So there are times we say to our customers, you know what, you need to do some video marketing so we can get this out there and create a YouTube channel that's not really social media, but it's a YouTube channel that then we can go further. You need to create a blog, because then we can create content that we can use across different channels. So all of those things count. Sometimes we'll say you need to be on the radio, or you need to be on the TV, or actually, my favorite story I tell a lot is about Jeff over at Challenger Auto, and how he really wanted to be in Severna Park. He's like, my shop is just down the road, and I really want to get Severna Park people to come to our shop. And so we're trying and trying. How do we really reach them directly? And we happen to be friends with somebody who was running the music program at the high school. Jeff is very into music, and the music program needed sponsors. And I was able to say to him, hey, they need sponsors. And not only that, but they're going to be grateful because everybody's sponsoring the sports at the school and nobody's sponsoring the music, right? So it's these things you can do for promotion that are so big right? They're so little,
Mhm.
but they're so big, and you've got to look at all of them, and you can't just do one thing because that's not going to work for you.
Definitely.
So, yeah. All right. Let's talk about the people and a little bit about, we talk about marketing and putting things out there for other people. But what about the people who are within your company and what you're saying?
Yeah. So how well do your people know your message, right? I
Yeah.
think this is where you're going with it. Like
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
how how well do your employees know who you are and what you're doing and what your goals are? And because they're going to be big advocates for you as a business. If somebody is happy working with you, then they're more likely to tell people good things about your business. I remember we went to a thing up in New York. It was a Zoho conference, and we were sitting there, and these two people were sitting next to us in branded polos talking about
Yes.
how much they hated their company. And
Oh,
it was, I remember you being like,
I had
oh,
totally forgotten that.
I had two
Yeah.
until just now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it
So,
matters who you're
mhm,
marketing to is not just the people out there, but the people in your, that's why culture matters, right?
definitely.
It's the whole purpose of culture is that it's internal marketing. How are you marketing to the people within your business? How are you marketing to your neighbors? Actually, honestly, that's a really good one. How are you marketing to your neighbors? Right? Not just your neighbors at your house, but your neighbors in your business. If I'm taking, like the guy across the street who takes my parking spot every single morning, am I likely to use him as a business? Probably not. So it's all the people, right? It's all of the
Mhm.
people. So, all right. Place is a little, this one is great because I think it's so easy. How many times have you guys driven by a place and gone, oh, that's a horrible location, right?
Oh, yeah. Do you
Yeah.
remember
So
that
the
restaurant that was on? There was a restaurant on a TV show near our house years ago, and it is where the catering company is now,
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
or Be My Guest catering company is.
Yeah.
And they had a restaurant, and it is a horrible location. Like they talked about on this, like I saw it on on Facebook, and there was a story about it in the paper about how this TV crew came in and they revamped the restaurant. And I was like, well, I didn't know it was there. And it's like 3 minutes from my
It's
house
exactly, exactly,
because it was like
exactly.
in this business park all the way in the back. And they did okay for a little while after the show from the publicity from the show. But for the most part, they didn't do well because they chose a really bad location. So,
Absolutely.
especially with restaurants, I mean, restaurants, you have to have a good location. For a lot of businesses, it's not a big deal if you're in a business park, but unless there is enough business from that business park to support you, like if you have like a breakfast lunch kind of thing and you're in an industrial area that has a lot of businesses around and you're the only
Right.
restaurant, like that's a great place for you, right?
Right.
But
But you've thought that out, right?
yes.
You've thought it out. You're
Hmm.
like, okay, this is the place I want to be. But
Yeah.
then the other part of this place thing that people don't realize is thinking about where your customers are, right? So I think in B2B marketing, people, I know they think of this. They're like, I'm trying to reach the person. And you say, well, where are they? And they say, well, they sit at a desk. I'm like, and how are you going to reach them at the desk? Right. So where else might they be? So how old are they? Well, it's a 40-year-old woman. Okay. So what is she doing on the weekends? Well, I don't know. Could she be driving her kids around to sports? And if she is, what's she doing when she's driving her kids around to sports? Is she listening to podcasts? Is she listening to the radio? How is she doing that? Right? When is she checking her email? Where is she when she's checking her email? Where is she when she's checking her social media? So start thinking about your customers and where they are, not just
Hmm.
them coming to you, but how are you reaching them? And really you're going to have to step outside the box, especially if you're B2B, because B2B, you think I had somebody a purchasing that one company we worked with, and they're like, oh, purchasing agents are our people, and they work in the back of the factory, and that's where they are. And I was like, but where are they otherwise? And so we really had to dig deep. What else are these guys doing? right? And when we really look, I mean, we had to do a lot of research for them, but they were almost all of the guys, like 80% of the guys, because they were in these rural areas, they were hunters. And so we're like, okay, so do they read, what is the Dog and Hound magazine or what? Whatever, Rifle magazine, whatever the magazines are you read when you're hunting. But you have to think about that. What are the things they're doing? Where are the places you're actually going to reach them?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, this is our favorite topic, processes, because we're really good at it. So why does it matter?
Processes matter because you know what you can have an expectation, right? So it's, if something comes to us, we have a process. We bring in a client, there's a process to get them from A to B, to get them, even just to onboard them, and then get them started, or our creation process. Like, we have a process from, okay, this is how many posts I'm going to need for the next couple of weeks, to getting them scheduled. There's a way of making sure that it's done right. Anytime we know this, anytime we go out of our process, something inevitably happens, because there's a typo or there's something else, because we rushed it. If you have a process, then you know what to expect at the next step, and you know how long it's going to take, and it's just cleaner.
Absolutely.
And this is from two people who fly by the seat of their pants a lot of the time.
A lot of the time, but we are really good at processes, and it is something that we're always. It doesn't mean that you have a process and you just let it lie there. You actually have to keep going in and improving it, right? But
Definitely.
it is important that you have those processes, and part of the reason, probably the main reason it's important, is customer experience. How we do things is affecting our customers. I read this morning about patient satisfaction, and they said patient satisfaction and patient experience comes from everything you say and do with your clients, right? And I think that goes into the back end of things that you're not even thinking about. So like you said, it's the stuff we do here to get people onboarded. It's the stuff you do here that they never see, but without us doing it, they don't get the best in the end. So
yeah.
And actually, that client experience, it reminds me, I think Michael Hyatt told a story about, he'd go to get his hair cut. And Michael Hyatt is, he's got more money than God. But he'd go get his hair cut at a fancy schmancy hair salon, and he would go in, and they would, this one person would greet him, and then they would take him over, and they would make him an espresso, and they always offered him this little cookie, and he loved the experience. Even though it meant he was going to have to sit and wait for his hairstylist, he enjoyed it. He would come early so he could have his espresso and his little biscuit. And then they changed the process without meaning to. They hired a new receptionist. The new receptionist was brusque, and he was like, yeah, you can have a seat over there, and cut out that whole thing. And the truth is, he said the first time he didn't notice it, but the second time he's like, oh, I really liked coming here, and I don't now. And so those processes are things you don't actually. The next thing we're going to talk about is physical evidence, and that's sometimes people don't know how much they like it until it doesn't show up, right? So that leads us into physical evidence, right? Which I think is an interesting way of saying. I sort of think it sounds like proof of life. Proof of purchase. I don't know.
Proof of purchase. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I liked this, and I think because, last week we did our photo shoot here, and you and I are not very girly. We were girly. We wear dresses, and we sometimes put on makeup, but we're not the kind who spend an hour getting on our makeup, right?
Exactly.
And this morning I had my baseball cap on the way in, so I could, ride with the top down. And so, yes, I'm windblown, and I don't care. My face is probably dirty. But anyway, the point is that last week we had the photo shoot, and part of the photo shoot was to have makeup artists come in, and the physical proof of what we did. Yes, we'll get the photos, and that's going to be physical proof. But the other the physical evidence was what we looked like, right? Was going back in the bathroom after they did the makeup and walking over and going, oh my gosh, look at those big old eyelashes. I looked like
it was shocking at first. I was like, oh my gosh. But when she showed me the pictures, I was like, okay, all right, I can see. it needs to look more there. But then I was looking, ever since then, I watched the news and I see them on the TV and I'm like, how much makeup do you have on?
Yes, I know. It is really amazing. I think I felt like my face was heavy all day. But anyway, that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
Mhm.
But there's other things. So think about the yes, if you are in a running shoe store and the person walks out with a pair of running shoes, they have physical evidence. But
Mhm.
if you're a business, what is the physical evidence you're giving them? If you're the CPA, what is the physical evidence you're giving? And what kind of impression is that making? So this is your area because you do this. When we get a new client, what happens?
So when we get a new client and we're getting them onboarded, one of our tasks in our process is to send them a card and a goodie box. It has some coffee in it and ASMM service cup and a mug and info about burgers and bands because we always want to push that. That's a big part of who we
Exactly.
are. It's kind of
In our
just
little
telling
notebook.
everybody. And our little notebook that I love. Yeah, so there's things in there, and really the note I feel is the big thing, right? It's a handwritten note from you that just expresses how excited we are to get started with them and to join their team and to help them grow. We're very
Absolutely.
invested in the businesses that we work in with. So
Absolutely. And it occurred to me, so that note definitely is part of our, we have core values. Our two main core values are authenticity and gratitude. And gratitude is clear, that the note shows that. But it also shows our authenticity because often I will say, I'm so excited about working with you. And that's totally true of every client. But
mhm.
sometimes it'll be specific. I can't wait. So we just brought on absolutely everything curly. And I literally spent the weekend thinking, oh, I wish we were starting right now because I can't wait. And this is what I said in the note. I absolutely can't wait to make the graphics for this client because I know I'm going to get all these beautiful pictures and we're going to have all these
Mhm.
beautiful things. And so that physical evidence that we gave them is something that is not just physical evidence of what they bought, but it's physical evidence of our core values as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So I think that's something to consider. And actually, can we go back? And I know this is not on point. This is not what we were talking about, but it is sort of. I want to talk a little bit about the promotional items. And we had Andy in here from Minuteman Press on Friday. And one of the things I said to him is that I used to work somewhere and we had these great printed t-shirts for running. They were for running. So this is so cool. They had this great big thing across the front of them, basically the logo of the business. And they were this great material. I'm a material person. So they're like all about, they whipped the sweat away and they were wonderful. And I would want to give them out to customers when they would come in. Specifically, I was pretty careful about which customers I thought we could give them to, but specifically customers I knew who ran local races, right? They run the local
Mhm.
races, they're going to run with our shirt on. That's what I
Mhm.
wanted. People who are involved in the running program. And the guy was like, do you know how much those cost me? This was the issue. How much do they cost you? A lot. But how good are they? What good are they doing you sitting in the back room, not going on backs? And these shirts have been sitting back there for 3 years. So I want you to think about that as far as physical evidence. That's another really good way to think of it is by giving stuff like that, giving the promotional items and doing, our Turvis mugs are not cheap.
No.
They're really not. And I will be honest that I'm always looking for them when they are on sale because they've got our logo in them and they're expensive, but they make a huge difference to our customers. So that physical evidence, it's a big deal. It is a
Yeah.
big deal. So do think
We
about
have
it.
that one lady who was like, "Oh, I'm so excited. I got it. I drink my chocolate milk out of it every morning." And so
Every
it's
morning.
like, it's like, "Oh, you're welcome. I'll bring you
Exactly.
another one."
Exactly. Well, and that's what we did, right? Because she was using her now fiance's
Now
mug
fiance,
every
yeah.
morning. But she's a realtor, which means she could also be a client of ours. So you never
Mhm.
know when you're giving these things how it's going to come back to you. So, yeah, let's go back and list them. So, the 7 P's of marketing, right? This is really important for you to remember your product, your price, promotion. That's clear, right? People, place. Where are you finding them? Where are they finding you? Process and your physical evidence. So if you need more information about this, we are going to write about it. We are going to put it up on the blog. This is kind of a new fly by the seat of the pants part of this as well. Our blog is really very, very good. It's good. There's so much on there, but it's also being written weeks in advance. So I just called Dylan actually and said, Dylan, could you please write something for the last week of November, because I'm good through until then. And I don't want to wait until November to do that, because that's going to be December. So the point of this is to say that we are going to have to start writing a blog post about each of these so that we can
Sure.
guide you, right? So that we can guide you. But in the meantime, go over, visit the blog, have a look at it. I think you will learn a lot. And don't forget you have homework. Do you want to remind them what the homework is?
Yes, don't forget that you need to go in and fill out anything that's fillable. So first start with your social media. Those are very small snippets that you need. Make sure every single one of them is filled out. And then go to your chambers of commerce, check those, anywhere that you could be publicly listed. So just go in, take a look. If you're in a BNI like us, make sure that your profile is completely completed, because that way when people are going and looking for something, they can see more information about you. And then, like we said, Google will find you. If you are in a lot of places, that's what Google likes. And I know we don't always like that the big companies are in charge, but they are.
They are.
And
They
so
are in
why
charge.
not be friends? Let's be friends with Google, and let's be friends with Facebook, and do what they want us to do by completing our profiles.
Absolutely. And if it makes you happier, think of it as winning, right? The way to win this competition is to fill out all those points, to gain every point you can from Google. And we will try to tell you every week something that will give you that extra point, right? I also am going to end this today with Burgers and Bands, because Burgers and Bands for Suicide Prevention, the Annapolis edition, is on the October 17th. And we are really excited. We're really excited. We have a new director who's going to help us out there. But I want you to go and look. And yes, I would love you to donate. Yes, I would love you to share. But I want you to go and look. And I want you to look on the pages specifically that are the photographs, the galleries that we have. And why do I want you to do that? I want you to do that because as business owners, it's lonely. As business owners, it's easy to say, oh, well, I can't let anybody know that I'm struggling. I can't let anybody know that I'm having a hard time. And I want you to know you're not alone. So when you go and you look at those pictures, I want you to look at them in the way that makes you think every single person who comes to our event, and this is so true and it's so cool. I love it so much. Every single person who comes to the event cares about you, cares about other people who are there, and they're there specifically to say you are not alone. So please do go over, visit our page, look at the pictures. If you want to help out, you want to volunteer, you want to donate, you want to share, we would love all of that, but you don't have to. Just go over there and do it for yourself. Realize you're not alone. So, all right, everybody, we will see you next week. I didn't look up what we're doing next week, but I'm sure it's something awesome. And if you watch our if you watch our social media, Amanda, who is our producer, will put that on social media probably this afternoon. She's pretty fast about it. So, all right, everybody, you take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.